Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I believe that all of you in this room are aware of the Woman Life Freedom Uprising and the government's brutal crackdown last year. And however, there is significantly less awareness about the deprivation of fundamental rights experienced by members of the LGBTI community during this protest, and I am grateful that you are here today to listen to their voice. From the outset of the uprising, our organization received reports from our network inside Iran indicating that LGBT plus protesters had been targeted either in the middle of protest or subjected to aggravated violence due to their real or perceived sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. Earlier this year, we initiated a research project to understand the extent and gravity of human rights violations experienced by individuals perceived as LGBT+ during protests. We sought to evaluate whether these violations amounted to international crimes. We employed a variety of methods to gain a deeper understanding of the situation, including in-depth interviews, surveys, and the collection of written communications and evidence. In total, 70 LGBT+ protesters participated in our research, and additionally, we reviewed statements made by Iranian officials regarding the protests in general and the role of the LGBT+ community in particular. Since the onset of the nationwide protest last year, rather than addressing the legitimate demands of the people, high-ranking officials, including the Supreme Leader of Islamic Republic, labeled them as part of a hybrid war. Within this narrative, they accused Western states and Israel of leading a combination of traditional and new warfare tactics, including cyber, media, intelligence, and military operations aimed at overthrowing the Islamic Republic. Consequently, they executed a brutal crackdown on peaceful protests, resulting in at least 500 deaths, including 70 children, thousands severely injured, and over 20,000 detainees who were subjected to torture, sexual abuse, and even rape, as well as enforced disappearances on a widespread scale. The LGBT+ community was already suffering under discriminatory laws and policies that criminalize same-sex conduct, with punishments ranging from the death penalty to flogging. They also faced a range of restrictions on gender expression, including mandatory hijab laws and state-sponsored hate speech characterizing homosexuals as sick, perverted, and animal-like. These conditions prevailed even before the protests began a year ago, following the death of 22-year-old Kurdish woman Gina Mahsa Amini while in the custody of the morality police. The accounts of the participants in our research, detailed in the report, reveal horrifying situations. For example, individuals were targeted by security forces in the middle of protests and subjected to sexual assault solely because their gender expression differed from others. Some were interrogated about their sexual orientation while being arrested for actions such as graffitiing "Woman Life Freedom" on walls. To assess whether these actions amounted to international crimes, we evaluated the facts against the standards set out by International Criminal Court. We specifically referenced the recently published ICC policy on the crime of gender persecution, as no other legal framework could be more applicable to this situation. Persecution is defined as the international and severe deprivation of fundamental rights contrary to international law by reason of the identity of the group or collectivity. Gender persecution is committed against individuals due to their sex characteristics and or based on the social constructs and criteria used to define gender. The evidence presented in our report confirms that those perceived as transgressing gender norms that define accepted forms of gender expression were more likely to be targeted during the crackdown and subjected to greater brutality. Thus, they fit the ICC's definition of victims of gender persecution. Various units, including the police, IRGC, Passage Militia, Ministry of Intelligence, agents and their branches in education, healthcare, universities, factories and government offices violated their rights to life, freedom from torture or other inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, freedom of assembly, opinion, expression, movement, and religion, as well as right to equality, dignity, bodily integrity, privacy, and security based on gender through the use of various forms of violence. I'm confident that our panelists will, with the legal background, will discuss the elements of the crimes in more detail. Therefore, I will conclude my remarks here and welcome any question about the findings of the report and the situation of the LGBTI community in Iran. Thank you very much.